Hello everyone and welcome to Leonora AstroTarot. Thank you so much for wandering over to my corner of YouTube today. I really am grateful to have you here. Welcome if you are stopping by for the first time. You most likely are, as this is still a very new channel. If you are returning, very happy to have you back. Yeah, today we're going to be doing a reading, channeling advice from your spiritual team. So whoever that is, your higher self, your spirit guides, however you like to think of it. We'll just see what kind of messages come through, leaving it open, advice from the highest and most loving sources. So yeah, we have 4 groups today. Group 1 is the Azurite here, Group 2 is the Pyrite, Group 3 is the Chrysicola, and Group 4 is the Black Tourmaline. So just go with whichever group is pulling you. You know how this works. You're of course more than welcome to pick more than one group. There may be different messages and different piles for you, so just go with your instinct, with your intuition. Yeah, I'll leave you here for a moment to pick your pile, and I will see you in your reading. Hello Group 1 and welcome to your read. You picked the Azurite here, and today we're asking for guidance, channeled messages from your spiritual team, whoever that might be, whoever might like to come through. Of course, this is a very, very collective read, so collective reads like this are never going to be 100% accurate for you. Take what resonates. Not every message will feel like it's meant for you, but exercise discernment always. Yeah, you know your own life, so please never give up your sense of what is real for you. Yeah, so let's have a look. Pile 1, what we have here, we have improbability, we have the journey, we have animus, we have summer, we have the 2 of birds, we have the 6 of embers, we have the 3 of birds, and we have threefold riddle here. Okay, let me just shuffle this a little bit so I can, I'm working on a pretty small table today, so it's a little bit of a squeeze, but hopefully you guys can, let me just adjust this so that's a little bit more straight. There we go, that'll have to do for now. Okay, so improbability, pile 1. I'm drawn here to the way this arrow, this bow and arrow is sort of, it has to do with the way you're taking aim, pile 1, the way you are approaching your dreams or whatever it is that you want. There may be certain blind spots when we're looking at these clouds in terms of how you are approaching, going about achieving what you want. What's coming through to me is this sense of aim, or your ability to clearly see the target seems to be somewhat clouded or confused. Like there's a lot of might, a lot of desire, a lot of passion to perhaps achieve something, but there isn't a lot of clarity in terms of what the target is. Some of you may become somewhat fixated on certain targets, or all or nothing kind of thinking, which sort of sets you up for uncomfortable kinds of situations, a kind of all eggs in one basket sort of thinking. You may be very particular or picky in certain areas of your life, I'm getting, and this very, very, very precise view you have on something, sometimes it blurs your perspective of what's really out there and what the real potential. It's like what you're aiming for is ultimately good and positive and right for you, but it's this sort of almost single or narrow-mindedness with which you are going about in aiming. It's almost as if on a subconscious level, at times you sort of you might be setting yourself up for disappointments. And I know that's uncomfortable to hear. It's the way we get quite determined that things have to be a certain way, and when they are not, we can take it to heart in quite a major way. But the sense I'm getting is that there's some kind of unconscious pattern that is playing out in order for you to almost subconsciously sort of exposing unconscious beliefs, right? So for instance, we get fixated on persons or things or opportunities that perhaps we unconsciously know are not quite right for us. And yeah, this is unconscious, right? We know it, but we pick this target in order to live out a certain storyline that has to do with failure, whatever it is, because it's reflecting something within us. And I know that this is not such a nice message to receive, Pole One, but I think that the positivity here that I'm feeling it's not the idea or the thing you want or your own capacity to succeed. That is, it's all about the target. It's all about how you're going about things in quite a black and white way. It's not that you're not ready for things. It's not that you can't succeed in what you want. It's just areas of your life where if you find yourself thinking rigidly or all or nothing or only this or nothing, these are the areas of your life I think your guides are trying to draw your attention to broaden your perspective. It's not what you want, it's the way you're going about the way you want in quite a rigid, quite a almost extreme way of not it definitely feels to me, and I'm not getting an overall romantic sense to this, because obviously in the realm of relationships it is always about one person, and I don't think this is what this is. I think it has to do with other areas of your life where you're almost slightly just setting yourself up to fail through being too particular and fixating that target in a too narrow a way. Okay, so yeah. Because here we have the journey, and I do think that it's almost like, Pal One, you are playing out certain scenarios or almost creating certain painful experiences for yourself in order to draw your own attention to past pain. Let's say, for instance, if whatever this target is, you've had an experience of things not working out or disappointment. I know this is hard to hear, but it's almost as if you've subconsciously, this is by design so that you can, certain feelings perhaps of rejection, of smallness, of shame is coming through to me, can come to the surface because they need to come to the surface and they need to rise. It's really important, Pal One, that you feel into the emotions that are generated by whatever this improbability energy is. It's important that you process them, and the way that this person's hands are over their heart, there's a delicacy here, there's a wounding, there are old wounds that are surfacing because of this kind of thinking. I do think, like I said, it's a subconscious pattern, and I know it's hard to hear, but I do think if you found yourself on a loop that has to do with just feeling almost like you're failing at something, It is to some degree self-imposed, and I know this is frustrating to hear, but again, I want to repeat the fact that it's not that you're not capable, and it's not that you cannot succeed in your target. It's the way in which you're going about things at times. And again, I'm drawn to this black and white thinking. And it does have to do with, it's almost like a sort of unless these things can come to the surface, allowing, I think for some of you, a sense of pain, shame, inadequacy, unless these things can come to the surface and to really allow yourself to feel them. Perhaps you have been working on that, but the way these hands are in front of this person's chest and the gaze is sort of focused downwards here. Many of you may be on a spiritual path and making great attempts to evolve spiritually, and I think you have been doing an amazing job, pile one. But there's such a mournful quality here. There's such a focus on the past, and there's still a lot of subconscious. There's a need for certain subconscious things to become conscious, because they are sort of blocking the path, or they're blocking the journey, because there's a focus on the past, at least subconsciously, right? There's wings here. There's this incredible owl above this person's head. There's all of this, you have all of this strength and capacity, pile one, to transcend whatever these old wounds are, but there is a blockage here. You do need to feel your way through these emotions that are being generated by this almost circular sense of going around in these same patterns over and over, and it generating this real sense. These patterns are showing you what's lying there beneath the surface, and I think for a lot of you, it has to do with not feeling good enough, low self-worth, a lack of trust in who you are, your capacity. But your guides are sort of expressing that, oh no, you have what it takes. Your dreams are perfectly valid. It's the way you're going about them. Yeah. So we have animus here, which is sort of this Jungian, this is the Supra deck, which is all about the Jungian templates. And animus is sort of the inner masculine. We all have this animus, anima, masculine, feminine balance. For you, pile one, your guides are drawing your attention towards this inner masculine. So this has to do with finding your own strength and power and creativity. Confidence is really coming through to me, particularly confidence in your own wisdom, insights. Confidence is a real issue here that your guides want you to work on, because I think many of you, those that pick this pile, this is a real challenge. And again, I think it's the subconscious effects of old wounds that are perhaps making you feel less than. And consciously you might think, no, well actually I'm really working on my confidence and all of that, but this journey card, it's making me feel like, pile one, you are carrying quite a lot of I hate this word, but sort of there's even a sort of strength of self-loathing that is coming through to me, a failure to really get in your own corner, self-love. This could be a real challenge, and I think it's necessary to really get to the deeper roots of perhaps why you're not able to entirely get into your own corner, and to really embody your own strength and power and creativity, wisdom, your own insights, what you have, your voice, things like this. We have summer here. What's coming through to me is something about next summer. So we're sort of, where are we now? We're in October, at least when I'm filming this. And yeah, I do think a lot of you will be, I don't like to prophesize too much, but there's something here about by next summer. So let's say summer 2020, 2022, oh my goodness, 2022. Not summer 2020, that's the past. The pandemic has really, I think, done a number on our sense of time, right? But so you are in a very interesting cycle of progress. So if you've recently had a setback, know that you haven't been set back very far. In fact, everything that's happened is all a part of this journey towards achieving something. And I think you're closer than you think. I think you're doing amazing work, but there's just this tendency to fall into these patterns. Again, this is such a bright, such an incredibly blooming and positive card here, but I just keep being drawn back to this, the expression here on this card. I do think for a lot of you, they're just wounds that are lying just beneath the surface, and they are preventing you from fully being who you really are. As if at some point, and perhaps in some cases this may be rooted in childhood. It often is, right? Pile 1, it's like that's often the case. And sometimes we have less awareness of those because we just don't remember things. There's something that needs to be mourned here, and it needs to be released. And I think starting with just, if you, and I do think those of you that pick this pile, you may have recently suffered some kind of significant setback, or what you're perceiving to be, and I really don't think that that is what it is. It's really just, it's a situation that is happening in order to bring certain emotions to the surface so that you can see them. It's bringing subconscious emotions to the conscious space, and rather than reject them, rather than bury them and refuse to look at them, pile 1, you have to go all in here. You have to move these sort of your hands away from your chest and really, really feel all of these emotions that whatever the situation is bringing up for you. This is how we release things. This is how we work through. This is how we heal, is that we have to feel these things. We have to dig deep inside of that. So whatever it is, it's shame, it's this sense of failure and not being enough, all of that, to feel into these things. We have the Two of Birds here, which in the traditional tarot would be the Two of Swords. But here I'm drawn always to this card that it's a parent-child dynamic. And yes, I was sensing this mournful quality, that the roots of some of this may be in relation to a dynamic with a particular parent. Some of you may know exactly what that is. Some of you may. Pile 1, I'm very sorry for that jump. I was discussing this Two of Birds card, and then I realized that sometimes the camera just mysteriously stops, and it has nothing to do with the battery. I just don't know what it is. But when it happens, I just try to, rather than be frustrated, sort of retrace my steps, because I presume that there's some kind of message here that I'm not quite getting, that I need more time with the spread. Because I did complete your spread, and then I found it had only recorded up until this point. So let's go back to those messages. Pile 1, sorry about that. Pile 1, yeah, there was a sense here that there is an early life dynamic, and what that is for you, if you are resonating with this spread, will be different, but there's some sense of just mourning and processing whatever pain, like I think I had been trying to express, that your guides want you to know that a lot of these, what may seem to you very deep-rooted, blocked emotions, Pile 1, are very ready to come to the surface, because you've been doing work over time, trying to weed these things out. You have been doing a lot of work on yourself, and it hasn't gone unnoticed. Your guides want you to be reassured of that, but they're drawing your attention here to an early life dynamic, and it may be with a parent, an authority figure, something like that, that has really affected your sense of self-worth, but also your creativity, or your ability to, like this animus, embody your powerful, autonomous, creative side. bringing this into meditation and focusing on whatever this relationship is or was, whatever it means to you, and as painful as it might be, allowing whatever meditation techniques you have, whether you use things like visualization. I think, Paul 1, it's really useful perhaps if this is resonating, to look into those kind of techniques, just exploring your own imagination and subconscious, because there are so many messages there that can be incredibly helpful. And I'm getting that there's something here in a dynamic that has to do with how you respond to your creative impulses, whatever form they take for you, part 1. We established to begin with that you had been trying to achieve something and have felt a setback, or you had felt essentially just being blocked, or as if you were failing. You're not, and your guides want to keep reassuring you that you are on the path that you need to be on, that all of this is going somewhere, you are progressing, everything is in its place, it's where it needs to be, and you don't need to doubt that. But there are things that are holding up this journey, and there is something beneath your awareness, and it has to do with an early life dynamic and how it may have affected your response to your own creativity. We have the 6 of Embers here under the journey. The 6 of Embers in the traditional deck is like the 6 of Wands, which is a card of success, of victory, of celebration, of being personally celebrated, right? So I was sensing the whole time this is about the desire to achieve, to grow, to succeed, and you are so close to it, much more close than you know. Your guides can see things from a sort of this owl-like bird's eye view, right? So they know you're so close to the surface. It's like, don't let small these setbacks are just, if you want to see them that way, know that they're hurdles. They're ways of yourself, showing yourself what's holding you back, that you need to work through. It's a way of letting painful emotions rise so that you can work through them and ultimately let them go. And your guides want you to know you are so close to this, and it's like you can't see. They can see this, but you can't. It's the way this person's eyes are sort of on the past, on their emotions, on this sense of blockage, or this sense of this person has wings, but it's like they're not flying yet because of their hands are so protectively blocking them. You may not realize this, Pole 1, because those that pick this pole, you may be quite ambitious. You may be quite determined. There's sort of a Capricorn-like vibe of, I'm going to go for something. But it's almost like subconscious patterns are holding you back. And it would be easier than you know, or than you believe, to just remove your hands from in front of you and let yourself move forward. But there's some part of this that I think you're afraid or reluctant, resistant to let go. Again, there may be difficult dynamics in your life that you don't, as much as you may be aware of them having a negative impact on you. Particularly if this is a parental figure, there's probably a lot of love there too, and I'm picking that up from the journey, that there's a reluctance to see something as it is because there's an attachment which is only natural. But at this point, it's blocking your growth, Pole 1. Is this holding on? Is this blocking? Is this reluctance to really feel the depth of whatever this pain is? Because success is so close. This 6 of Embers achievement, it's so close to you, Pole 1. And your guides want you to know that. We have this 3 of Birds under the Animus, and the 3 of Birds in the traditional deck is like the 3 of Swords. This is a card of wounding, of heartbreak. I do think that, everyone is welcome in my channel, whatever gender identification, however, everybody is welcome here. However, I have checked my analytics and my audience is overwhelmingly female. So yes, if you are a predominantly feminine energy, I do think that you may have had some quite painful and wounding experiences with masculine energy, with people that were predominantly masculine or male. And that may have started with a parental, family, authority figure, whoever that was. But you may have felt repetitions of that in your interactions, perhaps potentially in relationships. Because there may have been projection that happened, perhaps. For instance, for those of you, that there was some kind of wounding here from a father figure, you may have sort of because there's, like I said, I sense that it took a while, quite a long time for a lot of this stuff to come for the surface. And I'm sensing there is such a deep attachment, Pole Ones, to this person. You may have felt an echo of that in your life. An echo of an attachment to somebody who may have wounded or betrayed you. And I think it is time to release that pain. Again, your guides are saying, bring this into your meditation, visualization practices, whatever it is. Allow yourself to feel this pain, this betrayal, whatever it is. Only then can you release it. Only then can you transcend it. Is that if you really, really feel it, but there's a reluctance to let go, but it's blocking you. It's blocking your journey, your path, is this attachment. So we have this threefold riddle here, which is a mysterious card in the Tantric Dakini deck. The description of this card has to do, this is a very personal card to the one who draws it, what that threefold riddle might mean. Obviously this is a collective read, so it's hard to interpret it in that way, but I am drawn to the hidden aspect or the concealed aspect. I do think this is quite specific, but for many of you there is an issue with hiding something, or feeling there is something shameful about. For some of you, this has to do with body image or body issues or something about your body. This person is also covering their body. There may be a sensitivity about that. Some of you may have found your physical boundaries have been crossed by people, potentially masculine energies, and there may be a wounding about that. It's important, and I think while these issues run deeper than your relationship to your physical body, it is important to start to develop a kinder, more loving relationship to your physical body. It's really, really vital here that you learn to love and express tenderness is coming through, tenderness to your body, as if it was, your guides are sort of something like I don't know why a puppy came, like you would be loving to a little puppy, a kitten or something like that. You need to express that same tenderness to your own physical body. It's vital. I do have a sense that there's something that's happened here, and it will be different for each of you, that has sort of severed your connection to your own body, and it's vital that you reestablish that connection. Your body is strong and beautiful, healthy, and all of these things, but in order to maintain your health, it's very important. But more so, there's just this tenderness, value, gratitude, all of these things towards your body that I think for many of you may be carrying shame about your body. And it's important to breathe into this, to really, really face this. For many of you, that what I'm saying may not be new, it may not be surprising. You may be very consciously aware of these things, but conscious awareness and intellectual understanding is just, that's one thing. We're talking about energy, we're talking about the emotions. It's important to really feel into these things in order to free ourselves and transcend these energy blockages. And I know it's tough. I know it's tough. But your guides want you to know and want to reassure you that you're so close to a breakthrough, Pole One, that you're doing all the right things. So if you've recently suffered what feels like a setback, know that it isn't that. That whatever it is, it wasn't meant for you to happen in this way. It was meant to draw your attention to, I'm getting shame. And this shame has different facets to it. Let's have another look at this card. It was important for you to go through whatever this was. please don't reject the emotions that are rising because of it. Please embrace them, even if they don't feel good. Of course they don't. It's important to embrace them and feel through them because they are very deeply rooted. This experience was contrived by you, Pile 1, so that you could bring unconscious emotions and patterns to the surface. So don't look away now. Your guides are assuring you that everything is going to plan. So I think I'll leave it there because that's a beautiful message, and I hope this has resonated with some of you out there, and I'm wishing you the very, very, very best with whatever it is you're doing. And I want to thank your guides and thank you for joining me. Do comment if this feels like your story. Do let me know. Do like, subscribe, and all the usual things. And yeah, Pile 1. It's been a pleasure to read for you, and I look forward to reading for you the next time. Take care. Bye. Hello, Pile 2, and welcome to your reading. You picked the Pyrite, and today we're asking for some loving guidance from your spiritual team, whoever it is that is coming forward to us today. Yeah, obviously this is a collective read, so nothing is gonna 100% resonate for you. Do exercise discernment, do follow your intuition. You know what's meant for you. So Pile 2, let's have a look here. What we have air, we have the Witness, we have Myth, we have Entwined, we have the Peacock, we have the Ace of Lotuses, we have the 8 of Birds, and we have Recall/Memory. Let me just check this frame. Seems a little bit wonky down here. Let's shuffle up a little bit. So Pile 2. We're starting here with air. And air is an element that speaks all about the mind space. It has to do with the way we are processing our experience through the mind. And I think your guides want to draw your attention to your thinking, your current thinking patterns about, for some of you, let's say relating in general, perhaps more specific messages will come through here. I'm drawn to these hands, and there's a sense of receiving or getting or not getting. Some of you may have had expectations about receiving something, perhaps in the realm of relationships. Your guides want you to draw your focus away from this energy of waiting or expectation, or there's something here about justice, about something being put to right. I'm drawn to this ocean here, the subconscious, and to turn your focus away from that and into your own depths, into your own processes, into your own towards your, but it seems like there's things that you're not perhaps seeing about a particular scenario. So yes, this is a little vague so far, but the Witness card here is a card that's all about seeing with clarity. For some of you, if you have become quite fixated on a particular scenario, for some it may be a relationship or a connection of some sort, your guides are drawing your attention to the way you are looking at something, or more specifically, the way you are thinking about something and the narratives you have created around it. We do have the Myth card on the other side of this Witness. I do think that some of you have built some quite painful narratives around a particular scenario. And your guides want to draw your attention to that, to the way you're thinking about something, because not everything that you think about it is accurate. In fact, a lot of these storylines that are sort of circling this situation, they seem to, they're just false. I think that's what your guides want you to know. They're completely false. Your guides want to express to you that there's certain quite painful storylines that are not true. I know I'm just repeating myself here, but I'm trying to feel this through. It's like you may have found yourself in this sort of never-ending loop around something. And it has to do with perhaps not, let's say we have an experience, or we have a wounding experience in a relationship, in something like this, and we struggle to move on, we struggle to understand what happened. We seem forever caught in that moment. Your guides want you to know that this is happening because the situation itself that you're perhaps mentally fixated on is in fact an echo of an earlier life experience, an earlier life wounding that has yet to be resolved. Once it is resolved, and I think you are quite close to resolving that. There were similar messages in Pole 1 that you're sort of closer than you know, Pole 2, to making certain breakthroughs. Perhaps you've been working on yourself, working on your healing. Once you're able to get to the bottom of almost the original wound, it's almost like whatever you're fixated on is the echo of a wound. Once that original wound is healed, is processed, it may not happen overnight, but once you're sort of on the other side of that mountain, perhaps feel like you've been climbing this mountain for a while, and you didn't know when you were going to reach the top, you didn't know when you were going to see the summit, all of these things. Your guides want you to know you're very close. You're very close. However, you're incredibly close. In fact, I'm drawn to this sort of sun rising, of being able to see your life from a different vantage point. Being able to see incredibly clearly. For a long time you may have felt quite confused about why you are stuck in certain loops. There is clarity that is coming, and you're just very, very close to it, this eye. And it's almost like something is about to be unlocked because you have been doing work. Inner child just came through to me. So it's almost as if you found yourself in the present, in a kind of trapped in a kind of scenario. You just can't seem to let something go, or a narrative go. It's because of the potentially early life, potentially childhood wound that you're struggling, or have perhaps for a long time struggled to heal. And because of that, it's distorting your image of what is really going on around you, and potentially what is really happening within a relationship or a connection. I get the sense that it's not a relationship you're in, but it's rather a connection that you have built a certain storyline around, and your guides want you to know that the storyline is not quite accurate. It's you're seeing this through the lens of an early life experience. So if this is something that you have had this expectation of progress in, know that halted progress has to do with the healing process of the early life experience. That's the message we're getting. And then this loop will stop going round and round. We have this entwined card here. And I'm seeing these sort of snakes that are wrapped around each other, and it's quite tender. It's quite loving. This pile does feel very connected to pile 1. So if you strongly are resonating, we haven't got very deep into this, but if you are resonating, it might be worth going back and checking out pile 1 as well, because there was something in that pile about animus, the animus, which is sort of the inner masculine. And there's a sense of perhaps, let's say, a scenario in which And as I said in this poll, look, everyone is welcome here, whatever your gender identification is, but I'm aware from my analytics that it's overwhelmingly female, or people that identify as female that watch me, so they're watching my readings. So let's say you as a female had quite a wounding, quite a difficult experience with a masculine energy. You then find that throughout your life, you feel unlucky in love, or you feel that you have very difficult experiences with masculine energies, essentially. Your guides are drawing your attention to the fact that there is a lot of projection that can happen in this realm of life. So because of this blockage or this struggle to resolve an early life wound around masculinity, that wound has been projected on others. I'm getting a strong sense of almost fear or danger, and this may or may not be conscious for you, Paltu, that there's a projection perhaps of a masculine or authority figure that is placed onto other people. It is a myth. It is a myth. It's a projection. So until these wounds are worked through, it's very clear, it's very difficult for you to have this clarity that we're getting this card, this clear vision of a situation. Because I'm sensing here, it's almost like there are these very deep, or perhaps have been quite deep, loving bonds that you share in a connection potentially with someone. The way these snakes are entwined, yeah, there's a deep connection here, and I think you have struggled to see it as it is, and sometimes it's your thoughts that are fooling you, almost creating barriers between yourself, and perhaps this isn't a specific person, but the potential of a very loving, very entwined, very connecting bond, because there's a fear of betrayal, but also negative beliefs, perhaps subconscious negative beliefs. But if we observe our thoughts, we can see those conscious patterns, right? The suspicion, the fear, the doubt, the fear of betrayal. For some of you, there's a specific person that you've sort of, these thoughts surround and circle that have to do, I want to say almost villainizing this person or thinking very badly of this person. That is, your guides are saying that this is a myth. So this person is not a villain. But there are others, in other cases, if it's not a specific person, it's about the potential of it. So perhaps you will meet somebody and there's the deep potential there. Sorry, let me just click this battery. You feel an attraction. And this person may be very good, very loving, but there's a projection here that has to do with unresolved wounds about masculinity in many cases. That sort of is preventing this loving entwinement. I do think a lot of you, your guides, they're sort of saying you are more connected than you know. So for those of you that there's a specific person in mind, you are very, very connected to this person in a very, very deep and very, very loving way. Unconditional love came through to me. There is a necessity to separate, like I said, if there's a specific person, and if there isn't, a conscious effort to, again, it's about seeing clearly with this witness. The image you have, I mean, let's just say that you had a really bad father, or something like that, Paltu, that not every man is your father, is consciously being aware of the tendency to project or have an expectation of harm or betrayal, things like that. It has potentially been wounding for you in past connections, but if for those of you that are connecting to this entwined energy as a specific person, a connection that you're in, your guides want you to know that there are certain negative things that you believe about this person that are really, they're not they're not true. They're not quite true. So take that as it resonates with you and in what areas, but that's what I'm getting here from your guides. We have the peacock here, and a gateway. This is making me think, this gateway is making me think of progress, of a path, of movement, of the necessity for change, and to venture into the unknown, whatever that means for you. You may feel a little stalled right now, Pole 2, and your guides are encouraging you to venture forward. Even if there's fear about that, your guides want you to know that there isn't anything to fear. Wherever you are in this myth and this circling, it's so much harder than whatever this unknown thing is for you. This white peacock is really drawing me in. It's again, there's something about clarity, and I think for some of you that there's a fear, there's a deep fear you have in seeing things for what they are, or fearing that you're fooling yourself with this myth card. And it's almost like, well, actually, there may be things, distortions in your thinking patterns, but it's like perhaps not the things that you think they are. I think with clarity will come peace. It's sort of that truth will set you free feeling, but your guides want you to know that actually a lot of the hard work that has needed to happen here has been done, Pole 2. You've come a long way. That's what your guides want you to know, and that you're so close to just stepping into a real bright and beautiful new phase if you just take that step. And we have the Ace of Lotuses here. This is like the Ace of Cups. This is a very, very loving card underneath the Witness. Again, for some of you, I'm drawn to, for those that were feeling like there is a particular connection, and you'll know if this message is meant for you. There is almost a block, like perhaps this may be somebody that has sort of offered you their love. It may not be, but someone you're aware of. Or if there's an expectation of receiving, or if you're wondering why something hasn't made progress, it's opening your eyes up to, again, okay, so what's coming through to me is that there may be, yes, if there's somebody, let's say there's a specific person, or there's just a desire for a more positive, loving relationship, because you've been stuck in these myths, in these circles of projecting a lot of fear onto other people that doesn't belong there. It has created a blockage in terms of you really feeling, because if you think badly about someone, those thoughts then can create this blockage to your emotions, and it's almost like you could be feeling this very deep love and that energy itself, if you're in that energy of love towards someone, if it's someone specific or it's just the potential of someone, that's going to draw things to you. If you can be in this energy of love and receiving this open lotus, this overflowing energy, but because you've gotten stuck in these thought patterns, it creates this blockage to really feel this entwined loving energy. Again, in this Eight of Birds, this is like the Eight of Swords in the traditional tarot, which is a card all about self-imposed restriction and often trapping ourselves within our thoughts. And this whirlwind here is just really kind of confirming what the myth card has been expressing to us, that you're sort of creating a little cage or this circling. Again, being very, very aware of what you're thinking, and particularly, so if you find yourself thinking quite negatively about a particular person, or about love in general, or men in general, let's say, or partnership, or romantic potential, your guides want you to watch this, that we have these birds surrounding this whirlwind, because it's as if you can get completely caught up on this, like in these myths that you're telling yourself, and they're very, very fear-based, and they're often completely untrue. At least there are some things perhaps you know to be true, but it's rather I want to say fear-based projections onto people or onto potentials, thinking the worst of others, or thinking you have to be incredibly self-protective, all of these things. Your guides want you to observe these patterns so that you don't keep getting trapped in them, so they don't prevent you from receiving. Your guides really want you to, you're so close. Again, this feels very connected to pole 1. You're so close to certain breakthroughs. It's as if your heart has been opening like this lotus for a while, and it's just allowing it to fully open so that you can receive, to walk through this gateway, whatever it is. There's so much to gain on the other side. Again, entwined. There's a message here for those of you that, if you're relating to this being about a particular person, perhaps you've had an opportunity for love and relationship that you've struggled to embrace. It's almost like the more you get stuck in these negative thought patterns, this person, because you're so connected, will pick up on it and project them at them, almost believe it. So this is quite likely happening on a subconscious level. It's as if you're finding yourself being like, oh, this person, they did this, they did that, they're like that, they're just like that guy, like whoever, it's just like, perhaps, and you're thinking, yeah, these are just my thoughts, like this person doesn't know this, but unless you're telling them, of course. But I think in most cases this is very, very internal. This is about the mind space. You are so energetically entwined with this person that they can pick up on it, and it affects how they feel about themselves. It's almost like they're absorbing that energy and directing it to themselves and feeling very bad about themselves. And if they're feeling awful about themselves, they're not going to approach you in this open-hearted way. And perhaps that's what you want on some level. Some of you, some of you may not think that you do. Again, it's almost like your thoughts will play tricks on you here. This person isn't going to approach you if you continue to think badly of them. I think that's as simple as I can convey this message. And I do think that there is somebody in your orbit, for some of you, that for some of you it's a particular person. For others, it's as if somebody hasn't emerged yet because of negative beliefs. These negative beliefs are almost creating a force field around you that are preventing sort of these Ace of Cups loving energies getting close to you at times. Yeah, let's have a look at this recall / memory. Your guides want you to... What's coming through to me is that, so if there's a certain person that if this is resonating, and for those of you that's like, yeah, there's a certain person here that you have some kind of history or block with, your guides want you to reflect more positively on your memories about this person. This is coming through it's almost as if you've sort of painted the past in a negative light, and they want you to perhaps take into meditation, reflect on these memories of, maybe it's a person, or maybe it's past relationships, past interactions. They want you to try and see them in a more positive light. This is important, that you're not remembering things in their full beauty, something like that, to remember the best of something, because there's some kind of distortion in the story you've told yourself about a particular, either a particular person or about, let's say, your relationship history in general, that you're sort of remembering things in a more negative way, and that it's important to reflect on the positive aspects of your experience. Let me just see if there's anything more that I can pick up here. Like I said, I think clarity is coming. And again, your guides are just stressing how deeply connected you are to, for those of you that there was a specific person that, although this may be confusing to hear, and I don't really talk about things like twin flames or those sort of labels here, but because I get the impression, it's like, I think we're very limited in our understanding of these spiritual concepts. I don't think that we can ever fully understand them. So people that claim to, I mean, I'm just not buying it. I think it's mysterious. But I do think that there are connections, and for some of you, Pal 2s may have found yourself in them, in a connection of this nature, where you're just like very, very much sort of share an energetic blueprint that's coming through to me. There's a lot of shared energy, and even if you're very far away from this person, your guides want you to know, energetically you're not at all. Energetically you're very, very bound, and they're just reinforcing the message that a lot of the things that you believe about this person aren't true. There's also something coming through, a lot of the things you believe about this person's life or history, relationships, are not, like, you've created a storyline about them. It may be through social media or something like that. A lot of you just have a lot of stories about this person, your guide, and they want you to know that what's coming through to me is this person has lived a much more sad life than you know. This is very specific, so take it only if it feels like it's meant for you. A much more painful life than you know. There's a sense that if you knew the truth, you would not feel badly of this person, and that there is quite a false image that you have built around them, particularly as relates to their relationships with others, their friendships that's coming through, and just things that are going on in their life. There's a lot of false beliefs and myths that you have about this person. So try to let those things go. If that was for you, try to acknowledge that what you don't know about this person. It's important to remember that you don't know. There's a lot that you don't know. That's the message. So yeah, take that if it feels like it's meant for you. And again, I'll repeat that you would feel quite tender if you knew the truth about this person's life. You wouldn't harbor such negative feelings or beliefs or thoughts about them. This person has struggled much more than you know, and yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. Paul 2. But I hope this resonated for some of you out there. Please do comment, let me know if it did. I'd love to hear from you guys, and do like, subscribe, all the usual, and it's always a pleasure to read for you, and I look forward to connecting with you the next time. Take care. Bye, guys. Hello, Pal 3s, and welcome to your reading. You picked this amazing turquoise Chrysicola, and today we're asking for channeled guidance from your spirit team, whoever it is that might like to come through with some loving messages in your highest good. That is what we're looking for. Of course, this is a collective read, so nothing is going to, well, it's rare. It's rare that everything will 100% resonate for you. Exercise discernment here. Take only what feels like it's meant for you. You will know what is meant for you, and leave the rest behind. So, Pal 3, we have ego here. We have the crow. We have Perseverance in reverse. We have Nocturnus, the Vessel. We have the Cosmic Tree. We have the Crow again. Another crow. Interesting. Alright, and we have the Magic Carpet. I'm just going to check this frame. I'm sorry, it's a bit wonky. Yeah, so let's get into this, Pal 3. We have ego at the top of the read here, and I'm noticing this crow is looking quite intently in this direction. The gaze of this blue-eyed gaze of this crow is looking at ego. The message I'm getting here, pile 3, clearly the presence of the crow is very prominent here in this pile. And the crow has different kind of symbolism that we kind of attach to it, right? Depending on where you are in the world, I think that's true with a lot of kind of animal spirit guides, emblems, that there's different kind of mythologies around different creatures. And the crow is one of those creatures that it's a mixed bag, really. Some people get quite nervous around the birds in the crow family. You know, in other kind of traditions, they're very supernatural. There's an overall sense, and again, it's like the way this crow is intently looking at the ego. I know also in some traditions, the crow is supposed to signify psychic abilities, intuition, messages, sort of the supernatural, let's say the spirit world. I think your guides want to draw your attention to your intuition and your relationship to your intuition, and specifically your tendency to respond fearfully at times to certain messages you receive, or whether it's synchronicities, whatever it is. Your ego or your tendency to, it's almost like this crow wants to, is sort of gazing at this ego and sort of wants to break through. Some of you may have some psychic abilities, pile 3, or however it is you define it, very strong, very well-developed intuition, and the ability to almost see through the veil, or sort of see through the illusions of this reality. Your guides want you to understand that this is a gift and it isn't a curse, and you may have been struggling with this. You may really feel it's a curse, you may feel quite resistant to it, your relationship to it may have changed over time, you may fear it. So it's sort of mirroring the sense of the crow. Is the crow a positive emblem, or is it slightly sinister? This is sort of, your spirit guides want you to know that these gifts you have are gifts, and it's almost like you'd feel much more comfortable in this world if you allowed your true intuitive expansive nature to kind of break through the ego, but your ego is creating walls that are preventing you from really seeing. Or it's like your ego is sort of fooling yourself. I mean, we have this arm here. If you could see on this card, pile 3, it's like there's wings on the arm, but they're kind of flaking off. It's as if you're resisting your true nature. Your ego is sort of convincing you at times that perhaps the things you experience aren't real, or there's just a sense that you don't want them, or you don't know how to interpret them. For many of you, it's like some kind of spiritual development, and sometimes it feels like too much. Perhaps you want to sort of return to a more ego, if you're someone that's able to see through the illusions of this world, perhaps there's a part of you that is kind of wishing you could go back to a sort of less awakened state, because perhaps you feel quite overwhelmed or quite alone in this awakening process. Your guides are sort of telling you that it's happening sort of whether you like it or not, but there's also a funny thing in that you really don't have to resist this. You're not going crazy, pile 3. You're perfectly all right here, but it seems like you're really attached to the ego right now. You're really sort of attached to, of course, when we're speaking about ego, we're speaking about this kind of identity construct that we sort of have here in our lives, right? It's somewhat designed in a way, but your pile 3s, I feel like you're very connected to your higher self, much more than the average person, and it's quite beautiful. Your guides are very proud of you. You may feel like you have a relationship with your guides already. You may be curious about developing a relationship with your guides. I'm thinking of doing another video, I think soon about this, about sort of almost meeting your guides or some of your guides and your spirit team, your guardians, however you like to think of them. Some of your guides are a little bit befuddled or amused or just observing this way that you're attaching to the ego or that you're resisting your true nature, even though your true nature is very impressive. It's quite curious to your guides. Yeah, that's a funny message, but let's have a look at this perseverance in reverse. It's as if your guides are observing your resistance to a kind of development or spiritual evolution, and they're quite confused, or they don't understand why you're doing this, because you have so much to gain from just allowing this growth to happen. They want you to know just how impressive you are that's coming through, and that it isn't like these are funny messages. It's not like you to be so in your ego, or it's not like you to be so attached to this physical world. That's, yeah. I hope this is resonating with someone. Let's have a look, because your guides are just stressing that there's so much to gain from fully embracing yourself, and part of fully embracing yourself is almost supernatural or just highly intuitive, highly advanced soul. Your guides are reminding you just what an advanced soul you are. So they get quite confused when you behave in quite sort of ego-like ways, or it surprises them. That's all. Yeah. Oh, pile 3. This is funny. Nocturnus. Yeah. Your guides are just reminding you that the more connected you are with them and with the spirit world, the more at peace you will be, the more expansive the world will seem, the more connected you are in general. But they're acknowledging that there's some kind of fear here, ego-based fear, that you're dragging your heels. It's like they're telling you could be so much more than perhaps you're limiting yourself quite a bit. I think that's what it is at the moment, or perhaps recently, that you've limited yourself, and it's self-doubt is coming through to me. There's a tendency to doubt yourself, your experience, which is quite rooted, I think, in youth. Your guides want you to know that allowing this spiritual path to unfold will not make you disconnected from reality, because that perhaps that's something you feared, Pole 3. Perhaps I was sensing some of you have felt quite alone in a kind of awakening process, quite disconnected from the people around you, and there's a fear that you will kind of drift off and lose touch with reality. And your guides are saying, no, that's not going to happen. In fact, with this vessel, I see this vessel as almost like the human form, and sort of it's underneath the ego, right? So this vessel, and how I love this card, this glowing vessel. Your guides are assuring you that the more you embrace your true soulful nature, your intuition, the more you embrace them and the kind of spirit realm, the more you will glow in this realm, the more kind of magnificent you will seem to others. You won't be disconnected. In fact, people will see your magic, because you're able to bring so much of the sort of higher realms into this one. So your guides are reassuring you of that. With the cosmic tree here, it's like there are tools is coming into my mind. There are tools that are available to you to enhance this process, and you have been quite resistant, and your guides are saying these are just ego-based fears, and that there's really nothing to fear at all. In fact, they're kind of amused by it. That's coming through again. I don't know who's they're sort of amused because your guides know how impressive you are. So if you do something that's quite ego-based, almost as if you're a young soul, it's almost like they're quite amused, because they see at times you get into quite small and limited thinking, and your guides just know how. Your guides have seen you through different incarnations, lives. Like, they know how incredibly powerful you are and how impressive you are. So if this sort of resistance to awakening, I'm getting a kind of loving amusement. Like, it just surprises them. But they know it won't last. They know that you won't lose your way for long. I don't think you've lost your way in general, but sort of sidestep or just drag your heels. Your guides are very curious about this, because your guides see you as you truly are, and you're not really seeing that right now with ego, with being quite in the ego. Your guides know that you're capable of anything, really. Your guides see you in your entirety, and again, God, it keeps coming through. They think this is funny. They think it's funny that you've sort of mistaken yourself, that you get stuck in these limited ego things. They're just like, I'm getting almost like this sort of shrug emoji, the feeling of just like, yeah, this is quite. I haven't received messages like this before. It's quite funny to me. They're just letting you know that you should and you can trust, and don't forget how impressive you are, and although you don't remember, they remember how much you're capable of. So we have this second crow here, and it's sort of, this crow is looking towards the ego. This one is flying away from it. If you have been dragging your heels, you're not going to be for long. The more you drag your heels, the more you're going to just delay certain positive changes. These changes are destined, are guaranteed. They will be different for each of you. But this crow is sort of reassuring me. I think your guides just want to remind you of again, how much you're capable of, and that you don't need to fear losing touch with reality, by allowing this process to unfold. Yes. What's coming through to me is that your guides know that you've been through so much more. Like, you've overcome, you've had to have so much courage at certain points, perhaps even in past lives. Your guides, because they're not sort of having a human experience right now, they may have done in the past, but they forget what that's like. And perhaps that's why it's amusing, that they're amused by your, at times, becoming absorbed in the three-dimensional world, because your guides just know how incredibly powerful you are. And again, you might be thinking or feeling like, am I? I mean, I'm just a, Joe Block. I'm who am I? But your guides are just assuring you with this Vessel card that the more you don't resist the process that you've been going through, the more that you will shine. You will be more connected. And it seems counterintuitive, but the more you allow your true self, your higher self, to almost merge with your ego self, the more thoroughly impressive that you will be to others. Your guides want you to know that sometimes you get stuck in limited beliefs about others, and they want you to know that many people are privately connected to the divine in ways you don't see. That's coming through. Many more people, not more, but many people that you wouldn't know are quite merged in this sense. You may not realize, it's just, you're not so separate as you think in acknowledging. Not everyone is part, for instance, of a spiritual community. There are different ways that people follow a spiritual path that you might not realize. So take that message as you will. That there's just a sense of, because your guides are just acknowledging that you seem quite afraid of fooling yourself or deluding yourself or becoming disconnected from this world. And it's as if you have a fixed sense of what this world is, but actually everyone is privately experiencing things in quite different ways. Some people are quite enlightened, some less so, but it's not necessarily always clear from the outside. People don't necessarily speak on it. To summarize that, it's just like you're not alone in what you're going through. You're not such a huge anomaly as you might feel you are right now, Pole 3. That's what your guides are trying to assure you of. And we have magic carpet here, and it's like this crow is flying away from this ego, and on this magic carpet there's something just about dreams here and magic. It's almost like you've reached a kind of cusp or a threshold where you're afraid to just step over it because you don't know how life might change. And I think it is true that you're going through major transitions. The crow is also a symbol of transitions, transformation in some cultures. And you're resisting this. And I do think it might be quite a shift, but in an incredibly positive way. The world, if you allow this transformation to just unfold organically, without resisting it, the world will feel much more magical to you, Pole 3. Much more magical. And you'll find that you're able to, whether you call it manifesting or just creating, you're bringing your dreams to life, it will become much, much easier for you once you've sort of allowed this process to, it's a constant unfolding, right? But it seems like you're at a very sensitive juncture when it comes to your personal spiritual growth, evolution, all of that. But it's about to get considerably more magical and joyful is coming through to me. But also there's something about wishes coming true. So your guides just want you to, they're amused for some reason about this sort of ego attachment that you're going through right now. They love you. So if they're amused by you, it's just, they're not laughing at you. They're laughing. They know that you would be laughing with them if you had their vantage point, right? Whatever this state is, it's temporary. And there's a lot to be gained just on the other side of this. And you'll get there. And it's going to be quite, there's something about magic here, but also about motion. There's going to be a lot of motion and progress that's going to happen quickly. You're going to feel a lot more lighter on the other side of this, a lot less burdened. So again, don't be afraid of this process, Pile 3. I think I will leave it at that. But if this did resonate, do leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you guys. Do like, subscribe, and all the usual stuff. And I look forward to reading for you the next time, Pile 3. Take care. Till then, bye. Hello, Pile 4. Welcome. You picked the Black Tourmaline here, and today we are we're looking for messages from your spiritual team. So however you think of that, spirit guides, guardians, angels. We're looking for some loving guidance. Of course, this is a very collective read. Collective reads are never going to be, or they're rarely going to be 100% accurate. Or resonate completely. So please just take only what feels like it's true to you and leave the rest behind. Okay, so Pile 4, we have synchronicity here in reverse. We have the sacrifice. We have a sincerity. We have a ram. Interesting card. We have the 10 of embers. We have the 2 of lotuses. We have the entertainer. Nice. And we have the fire of sacrifice. So yeah, 2 sacrifices. Interesting synchronicities here that are showing up in these spreads today. Let me just check this. Not completely a bit wonky, but let's go with this. So pile 4, synchronicity in reverse. What I'm getting here is a sense of misalignment that you may have been feeling, as if you're sort of in the wrong place at the wrong time. Pile 4, it's as if you can't quite get into this. There's this spiral here. It's like you're not where you're supposed to be, or there's just a sense of going against the tide, or you're not flowing with things. You're feeling a little bit lost, a little bit directionless, or as if you're not reading the signposts. Synchronicities can often seem like signposts that we're sort of in alignment. I often read them that way if I see certain number patterns, whatever it is. You, pile 4, may be feeling lately as if you've taken a wrong step somewhere, or it's just as if you're looking around and you're sort of unsure of whether you are where you're meant to be. I'm getting something here about weather. It's almost just as if you don't know how to read the landscape that you've found yourself in, something like that. Let's have a look at this sacrifice card. What I'm getting here, pile 4, it's as if the way this person is looking at something. What are they looking at? There's a butterfly. Okay, so butterflies are symbols of transformation. Often they're that classic sign of metamorphosis, right? It's that not being able to read your environment, or it's as if something is trying to communicate with you, but you're second guessing it, or you're just lost in terms of how to read your intuition. For some of you, I'm picking up on a kind of fatigue, as if, and again, this feels connected to the last pile 3, which was, there was some kind of resistance to an awakening process. And there's similar things here. It's as if the quality of your experience has changed, pile 4, recently, and you're experiencing quite a lot of intuitive information, but it's almost as if you're struggling to interpret. You're feeling lost along a path, let's say. It's as if there's a window that's open, and at first it might have felt quite magical, but there's messiness is coming through to me. It's like you just don't know how to read your environment. I'm repeating myself here, I know, but I'll find the thread here. Sometimes it takes me a moment. So we have sincerity here, and we have this embrace, these 2 arms. What's coming through to me is a sense of mistrust, of being not sure whether you can trust people around you, of whether other people are genuine in their intentions. You may have had some difficult experiences with other people recently, or felt betrayed in some way, or as if people are against you. And you struggle. You just may have had disappointments in different. It's not a specific thing. It's not specifically relationships. It could be with anything. There's just a general sense of mistrust that I'm picking up on here, and your guides are drawing your attention to that. Sacrifice is here twice, so I know it's significant to this. I'm going to keep going. I'm struggling a little bit with this spread. The other spreads were much clearer to me. Usually when I find this, it's for whatever reason, sometimes it takes longer for me to receive the messages, but to find a clarity here. Oh, there's a strange energy here. Okay, what I'm getting here with this ram, I mean, the ram is sort of, it's Capricorn symbol, right? But with this sort of almost, I was seeing this as almost fiery or dangerous or blood-like. What again is coming through to me is a mistrust of others, is seeing others through a certain lens. You may have been through a lot in your life, Pile 4. Your guides are sort of indicating that, yes, you may have been betrayed, and you may feel like betrayal is a theme. It may not be severe. It may just be the sense that some of you struggle to, you perhaps are feeling like, why am I drawing certain people to myself? Why? Well, there's something about how character judgments, are you able to judge character, who people really are? Perhaps you have felt deceived by people, things like that. Your guides are drawing your focus to the sense of fear I'm getting with this ram. So there is a fear here, or fear-based thinking, that is almost creating certain scenarios or creating barriers between you and others. That is almost sort of proving a point. That's coming through to me, proving a point. You may have felt quite let down by your caregivers, your parents, whoever they were. And their suspicion of others, it's quite sad, I'm feeling, in terms of allowing yourself to really be open and receive. Your guides are drawing your attention, or sort of want you to focus on this at the moment, because it's a problem, I think, in terms of really receiving what life has to offer. Life has a lot to offer you with this 10 of Embers. With this 10 of Embers, so this is the 10 of Wands, which is typically a more challenging card of burdens, but on this depiction, and I love this is the Cosmovisions deck, it has a very different energy. It's like a meteor shower. It's almost like what I'm getting here is misfire, as in things passing you by. It's almost like there's a lot that could come in your direction, or a lot that you could receive. There's something here about receiving and being open to receiving things, but there's a struggle here, and I think it has to do with fear of others. So again, for those of you that are resonating with this idea of just betrayal from, in your history, this may be affecting you in deeper ways than you know. Again, it's fear that I'm getting from this ram. There's a real fear that's coming off this. And it may be almost a scar that I'm getting. I'm getting scar from early life. So yes, some of you Pile 4s may have, and the number 4, yeah, and 4 is all about Pile 4s. It's about the roots. It's about, the 4th house in astrology is the home. It's your history. It's your heritage. So I think, yes, for many of you, this is a deep-rooted, inherited that's coming through. There's an inherited fear of others. Interesting. That is sort of affecting you. It's sort of like attached to you in a way. There's sort of an energy of mistrust. For some of you, this may have been inherited from a parent, but it's really prevented you from having sort of sincere and meaningful bonds and actually coming together. So if some of you have been struggling, coming together with others, so if some of you have been struggling with loneliness or feeling disconnected socially, but just in general, there is this sort of energetic release that needs to happen that feels like something that's just sort of there attached to you, inherited potentially ideas, attitudes, unconscious patterns, that it's an expectation of betrayal, but also just a fear of what other people are capable of. Yeah, it's a burden with this Ten of Embers. It's something that you've been carrying around and you may not be entirely aware of it. A lot of you may be very open energetically and have always been this way. So it's sort of, you're very good at, or you very easily absorb the energy of others. And for many of you, this may be a parental thing. It's often the case. It's a message that comes up a lot, which is just that we inherit a lot from our parents. We may take a very different path in life and a very different attitude, but these things can really be nestled under the surface. In your case, I'm getting that there's a sort of a fear of others that's preventing you from forming meaningful bonds. We have the Two of Lotuses. This is like the Two of Cups. Underneath this Sacrifice card, what I'm getting is there's just a struggle here to open up to deep connection, deep bonds, because of old scars. Some of you may have had a parent that was particularly tough on you, particularly brutal. And you may have feared them on some level, although consciously you may not see it that way. Often it's an imprint that's left on a child, right? So our adult self may not fear a parent, but we carry that memory of fear or that energy with us. I think you, Pile 4, have wanted to... I think you have a very deep, very loving nature, Pile 4. And there's a desire to really come together with others that's never really been met or fulfilled. But you're thinking about this now. You're at a point in time where you're just... you're wanting to have deeper connections with others, and touch. There's something here about touch. Some of you may have been on the receiving end of some tough physical aggression that's coming through. If that's the case, I'm very sorry. In early life, yeah. This mistrust, but also it's like just the way this hand is reaching out in this loving way. You're very afraid of harm. I think, Pile 4, this is sad. But at the same time, this fear is very vivid, but so is this desire to love. To love deeply. It's in your nature. It's who you are, to love deeply. But it's as if you feel right now as if you've never really connected to anyone. There's a real loneliness that's coming through to me, or a disconnection because of this fear of harm, anger, other people's dark side. You're going through a beautiful transformation at the moment, Pile 4, but it's a real struggle too. Some of these things are not news to you. They're things that you've already been trying to face for a while, but it's like you're at this point now where it's like something is, your fear, the fear is there and the desire is there. And this fear and desire, they keep sort of like swinging back and forth between what is driving you. For some of you, there may be somebody in your orbit, or there's someone specific that you want to come together with, or perhaps you want to make a gesture to this person with this Two of Lotuses. And perhaps you get to the point where you think you're ready, but this fear, the fear of someone else's anger, will pull you back. The more you resist this desire, you start to feel out of sync, I'm getting. And your guides are assuring you that what you're going through is very real and needed and necessary and fated. I think it's destined. But you have to let go of some of this load of the past. You have to face this. For some of you, this ram is a real person, maybe embodied in different people. And not necessarily directly face, these people, but in your own mind's eye, for instance, just sitting in those emotions. This fear of other people's violence, and in some cases it may have been physical violence, but also psychological violence, the kind of psychological violence. And some of you may have experienced different kinds of abuse. Again, I'm very, very sorry if this is the case, pile 4, but I'm getting that a lot of you, or at least you're coming into, or you will be, just a conscious awareness of these patterns and of the things I'm describing, but may not know how to lighten this load of this sort of 10 of Embers, 10 of Wands, and reach out to others, or if there's a specific person, to reach out to them. It's taken you so long to reach this point in life where you could believe or could be open enough to just reach out and hold someone's hand, or to allow someone in. Again, this sense of feeling like you've never really been connected to anyone. For some of you, there is a specific person that perhaps you do feel connected to and you would like to bring that together. For others, it's just the potential of it, and you're aware of these patterns and how they have held you back. But it's like you can't stop imagining. I think for those of you, if there's a specific person in mind that you want to reach out to, and with this sincerity card, it would require you to open your heart, and you may have struggled with that in the past, very, very much. Being truly open, really showing yourself. I'm getting something about the throat here. There's some... Many of you, Pole 4s, may have held back a lot of the things you have wanted to say, or just held back a lot of your own self. Again, for fear of insults is coming out to me. Fearing being attacked. Yeah, I think for a lot of you, this is there's a abusive parent. I think some of you feel as if you've created a kind of mask or a wall to prevent real connections happening. Or as if you've sort of created a persona that prevents real connection. But you want real connection here. But you can't stop this fear of reaching out to somebody and being treated with a kind of psychological violence. I can feel that you are trying to move through this, Pole 4, but it's like you keep one step forward and then a couple of steps back, but then you're taking another step forward. You are moving forward, but there's a lot of back and forth here. But it's like, I think you are determined to keep pushing against these things that have held you back, because there's an image here of the 2 of Lotuses. There's something here, something has appeared. And yeah, for some of you, it's just a possibility. It's just the ability to imagine true and meaningful connection that is leaving you feeling like you have to work through these things. you want to be seen here. I'm getting this sense of, that just the way that this card, we have this entertainer, but the face of this person is just sort of these squirrely shapes, right? There's something about not being seen, the desire to really be seen for who you are at a deep level. You may feel very misunderstood by the people around you, or that people misunderstand you, or people have a certain idea about you, and you want to be seen for who you really are. For those of you that have a particular person in mind that you want to connect with, I think there's a fear here that this person has seen this persona or this image that you have maybe created in order to protect yourself, and that's who they think you are. So there's this sense of, for those of you, if you're resonating that, if there's the particular person, there's a fear that they see a false image of you. So this aggression that you fear, you want to show this person sincerely who you are. God, this is a heavy pile 4. I think some of you have been going through a sort of identity crisis, but your guides want to assure you that this is just growth. This is needed growth, and it's been due, and in some cases it's overdue. You are where you need to be. You're just at a point along this path where things are getting confusing, or you may have been through a lot of changes lately, Pile 4. You may have experienced a lot of loss, just a lot of change. And your identity and your sense of self, your concept of self is really, really shifting. I think you're quite determined. There's a real determination in this pile to change and to overcome limiting patterns. But the struggle and this kind of tug and war between sort of, shall I stay or, go, pulling back and then moving forward again. It's very deep. This fire of sacrifice. I had an image of someone just sort of propelling themselves off of sort of some kind of peak. Again, I have this sense that some of you are looking to take some kind of risk, and your guides have been sort of encouraging you or gently kind of pushing you towards that for some time. And sometimes they might have done it in quite obvious ways, again with the synchronicity card. Sometimes these messages have been quite extreme to the point that it's made you feel like you're going a bit crazy. The kind of psychic information that you're picking up. You're very close to the edge of something beautiful and just hurling yourself into a kind of unknown space. It will require sort of sacrificing or releasing things, and perhaps has already done so. But ego is coming through to me, sacrificing or letting go of ego, whether that's a certain image or restrictive patterns that your ego has felt caught in. Just the freedom and the courage to take a leap into the unknown. It's really vital for you, Pile 4, and your guides are sort of waiting and wishing and cheering you on and giving you these gentle prods in any way they can. And perhaps sometimes they have been loud and it has confused you, but they just want the best for you, Pile 4. And it's as if there's a lot to be gained from taking a risk right now, or just leaping into this fire. I'm getting the image of it. It's almost like you just, when I said, one step forward, 2 step back, it's almost like you have to, when you have to kind of draw something back in order to kind of create the velocity and then pull it. It's like whatever you've been going through, I'm getting months. This has been a process of months that you've been building up to something. It's like there's this pulling back in order to propel something. And perhaps you've been taking baby steps or thinking, is there some way I can go about this without just hurling myself into the unknown? And there actually isn't. So these back and forths are sort of serving a purpose, but at some point you just have to take the risk. And your guides are really encouraging that, and also applauding how far you've come. They can see how much you've grown in quite a short space of time. And they know at times it's been almost like a boot camp. Like, your guides have been waiting for this opportunity to get through to you. And once you started to let them in, they couldn't help but sort of rush in. And they know that it hasn't always been easy for you, but they're proud of you, and they want to reassure you that the things you want are possible, and that this ram energy is also a thing of the past. It will be a thing of the past soon enough. Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. But pile 4, this was a tough pile, and I'm sending love to all of you, and do leave me a comment. Do let me know if this feels like your story. But yeah, I wish you all very well, and I look forward to reading for you the next time. Take care, everyone. Bye.